Let's start with Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. Let's do some Radha Jam. Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha. We are reading Bhagavad Geeta as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of International Society, Krishna Consciousness. Text 24. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation, will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Let's read the purport. Clear understanding of material nature, the super soul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead. Then it is certain that he will never come again to this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Let's move to text 25. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Let's read the purport. Now we are going to understand how we perceive, how how we can perceive the super soul lying within us, how we can evidence it. Let's read the purport. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned soul can be divided into classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is expanded as the Paramatma, Super Soul in everyone and the all-pervading Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental, to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here, it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the super soul by meditation. And when they discover the super soul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the super soul, supreme soul, by cultivation of knowledge. And there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Let's move to text 26. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Let's read the purport. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing. If the common man simply hears from the authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya. If he hears the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. That's why in those days there were so many people who used to sing about glories about the God in various ways, like in ways of bhajan. And there were so many get-togethers in those days where people used to take out time and just come and listen to the realized souls who used to just wander around the world talking about God. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. So you have to just stop reasoning why, how, everything. Just have to accept. But it's very difficult in modern world because modern world we are so much logic is required, so much intellectual is required that you forget the beauty of the essence of the existing things, the essence of reality. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers from so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home. Let's move to text 27. O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Let's read the purport. Both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity nothing can do. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity nothing can grow. The relationship between matter and nature is eternally going on, and this combination is effected by the Supreme Law. Therefore, He is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by Him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. And thus, all these activities and manifestations take place. Let's move to text 28. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees. Let's read the book. Anyone who by good association can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body or the individual soul, and third is the friend of the individual soul, is actually a knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the supersoul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshwar is sometimes translated as the individual soul because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parmeshwar to be the super soul. In either case, both the super soul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening. Yeah. Let's move to text 29. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. Let's read the purport. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma's manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. So it's so difficult, but yes, they have told what is how you have to see life. So when we see life suddenly like this, we will experience that actually there are no problems. We are just navigating through rough times. And we cannot do anything about it, no matter how much we try. So if we just live, accept our problems and live with them, and till, how do I say, along with the problems, if we move forward, like, yes, this problem is there, but if we choose to move forward, these problems will start reducing, and your path to goal is always getting shorter because you're moving forward in spite of this. And in that process, we are we are growing. Our soul is growing because our soul is taking all the feelings, all the activities, all the actions, all the courage that we are trying to put. So yes, that's that's difficult, but yeah, that's how it's done. Let's move to text 30. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Yes, let's read the purport. This body is made by material nature under the direction of the supersoul. And whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual Shiva. Yes. So when we desire of something, let's say we desire a car. So desiring is a very fundamental thing. So when you desire a car and you don't have enough money, what is going to happen? You're going to put into suffering. Why? Because unless you do some hard work, unless you do some sacrifice, you will not be able to earn enough money in this material world. And once you earn that enough money in the material world, can you fulfill your desires? So be very mindful of what you desire. So if you say that I desire strength, God will give you these circumstances where you will be forced to display strength. When you desire a car, you will be given circumstances where you will be forced to work hard so that you get that car. And once you worked hard, you got the money, and if you don't buy this car, you will be put to hard work again. Because once the desire is left in the universe, it it will get completed. It has to get completed. That's the nature. That's the law. That's the universal law. So be very mindful of what you desire. Let's end here with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Let's do some Radha Jap. Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha.